Well, there you have it. The channel has gone over 1,000 viewers. When I'm doing this voiceover this morning, they went over last night. We were watching the SpaceX stuff and watched it go to 998, and then over now it's 1,003. So thanks everybody for getting us there. Here's the parts of the second part of this thing, the technical part, if you wanted to, the mechanicals. Obviously he's going to go on a base. You can see the arm there. I have went ahead and sliced off a piece, and I'll show you how that works with the wire that we're going to put in there. I just used 2 regular nuts. You could use brass. I've used brass. It doesn't make as great a noise with the brass. Probably runs a little better, but it doesn't do that clack clack that I kind of like with these things. And here's a hanger. A lot of them don't come in the old-fashioned manner, which is just the wire, so that one has a coating on it. I took it off, and my daughter will see this video and notice that those are her pliers. You'll notice the red tape on there. She marks her tools. I borrow them and steal them, so that'll probably get stolen back later today. The hole through the center just needs to be a little bit bigger than the wire, but not big enough that the nuts will slide through. It's all but impossible to set these up to where you could drill straight through, so I'm going to drill about 1/2, 3/4 through, and then I'm going to meet up from the other side, because when you really get a good look at this character here, his shoulders are not level. You can see that one's higher than the other. I don't spend a whole lot of time trying to make those even, because people, if you're making to look people, or make things look like people to some degree, they slouch and tilt to one side and whatnot. So that wire's got a 90-degree bend in it on the side there. Does not bind in the middle. That's what I was checking there. 5-minute epoxy, and you can see with the man laid in the background there that I did ream out the hole a little bit so that the nut will sit flush. I'll take a grinder later and touch up those corners so there's no sharp, none of that nut will be sticking out. It'll be kind of wood on wood. Yeah, they're epoxied in. You can't see what I'm doing there because the guy can't focus for some reason. I centered that arm to where the wire is going to come out in the middle of the nut, so I know where to drill that first hole. So this is going to be just a nice tight fit for the wire. Not that it makes any difference, because you're going to epoxy the heck out of it. What does make a difference is what I just did there, and that's that running that little groove, that channel down through there. That 90-degree bend that's in that wire sits down in that slot. And you can see that's a fairly rub tight fit. This is kind of the whole secret to these things, this right angle portion on there. They get to, no matter how well you glue them, what you glue them with, they get to spinning. Again, I didn't figure this out. My father-in-law made a lot of whirligigs. He's a great carver. Still cranking stuff out in Connecticut, and he made some of these, and ironically enough, the first one I made was this Uncle Sam, and I made them a lot smaller than he makes his. His are 3 times bigger, although I did make some big ones. So I just put some epoxy in there to hold that wire. It's not going to do a real good job until I glue the rest of that arm piece back on there. Hey, these have been sitting in the background here. It's going to be a future video, and that's a reason to subscribe. These are, I don't know, they're little gnomes that I originally carved. These were all done with hand tools, small sets. You can see the guy on the right there has lost his hands over the years, but you can see how I used to do the hands and then the little feet. But there'll be a video on those, a real simple one, later on, for you guys to see. I dug them out, and I figured in each video I'm going to put a couple of different carvings in there, just give you an idea what's going on. and hopefully that'll give you a good reason to come back and check out and see what we're doing here. Those things are really easy because they don't have any face on them. So testing out the arm there seems to work pretty good. I got no issue with that one. So let's do the other arm, and once I finish this one, you will know everything I know, and you'll be able to create these at random to your own desire. So he goes on there. This part right here was worked out over building several of these as the easiest way to do this. Here's the hardest part: bending that second 90 degree in there. It's kind of like those puzzles that you see. Well, how did this puzzle go together? Well, this is how they go together. So I'm just using a pair of vice grips to hold that arm up against the one. You want them tight, but not too tight. If you get them too tight, you'll spend a lot of time sanding or with a knife trimming between the arms so that it'll turn. And if you get it too loose, then you won't be happy with it. And as they spin, if you let them spin in the wind for a little while, they will get looser and looser. So this is thin enough on here that I can work it around this corner, and I'm being real careful so I don't mess up the geometry there. And you want those arms to be, at least in my opinion, opposing, one up, one down. You could put them anywhere you wanted to. It would kind of mess up. This is the most balanced approach to doing that. You can see that thing is working fine. So I'll go ahead and glue that in. Each of these steps in between, I work on other projects for the half an hour. And here's one of them. I'm going to send some of these to Jordy. These are duck eggs, and I thought it'd be kind of fun, so I got a little deal and tried them, and I broke the first two I did. But our ducks have been on antibiotics. They lay 3 or 4 eggs a day. They've been on antibiotics for the last weeks, or a few weeks, and so we can't use those eggs. And I thought, well, what the heck, I'll drill them out and try again. So here's about a dozen duck eggs of various different sizes. They're a little bit bigger than a chicken egg, and I went ahead and drilled those out. I'll show you a future video of cutting those. I really suck at it, but I'm going to send them to Jordy and see if his ham hands can do that. I'll do a separate video on that. But Jordy, there's got some. You'll have a package coming your direction here one of these days. I'm pretty slow at that. And speaking of Jordy, I can't do anything but thank him. He's really been the reason that the channel's doing as well as it is. It's guys like him and Just Carb Rob and Gene Messer. If you haven't looked at Gene Messer's stuff, please go and do. Those guys are great for the carving community. And you'll see a whole bunch of folks that I tend to follow down in the description there. So a little bit of cuts all work, but here's the arms now. Now these paddles need to be turned to the side to catch the wind, and it's kind of a tricky part. If you don't think this out, it's kind of fun. My father-in-law came to me one day, and he'd made a lot of these things, and he said I was over at his house or something. He said, "Hey, this one doesn't spin for some reason. It just really sucks at spinning." And I got to looking at it, and he got to looking at it, and it turned out that one paddle was turned the wrong way. So if you turn the paddle the wrong way, they turn out to be opposing, and the wind presses when you turn it on there. The wind presses against the other one, and it's really hard to see if you're not really looking at it. So this part right here, you want to take a good look at and give some thought. I have taught aerodynamics at West Point to students because, as most of you know, I used to fly a helicopter in the military and still do in the civilian world, an EMS helicopter. But even teaching aerodynamics, I have to stare at these crazy things and see them. So the arms or the paddles are a wedge fit in there, and you'll notice I haven't carved the arm yet. And I really haven't done the finish work on the body. you're not going to see that. I'm not going to bore you. I gave you the basic shape. And I've also decided these videos are a little long. I've been looking at the watch stuff in there. I started doing them longer here 4 or 5 months ago because the comments were I missed what you were doing. And now that I'm looking at them, people are viewing 35-40% of it. So I think I'm going to try to pare my editing down a tad, and then start splitting these into different sections. Like this one's going to end up being a 3-part when I paint. I think I'll paint a bunch of stuff in one video, because I don't know, the old joke about watching paint dry. There are a few techniques with the painting, but by and large, painting is painting. So he seems to work pretty nice there. He's got a good clack. I didn't put that in the sound in the sound because I've got ambient sound going in the studio, and Jordy makes fun of me, which is all good fun for picking on him about his power tools. I personally don't like the sound of the dentist grinder there in my hand coming across on the video. It doesn't bother me when I'm sitting in the studio. I could go, well, in fact, I do go 6, 7, 8 hours carving. It just seemed easier on this one to grab the knife and trim that cap down that was glued on. If you do this correctly, and then use a little of that, if you have a crack, you can go ahead and put the epoxy in there. So here's, I thought I'm going to have no high speed in this, and then I at the end I threw that V-bit in there with the stone, and went ahead and did the beard, and then his hair, just to show you the finish on that. And it's kind of neat. You can see where my thumb is there, where the knife work was done. Knife work is really clean, as is chisels and that sort of thing, whereas these burrs tend to leave a little bit of fuzz. But hopefully these videos, I'm going to try to keep them down around 15-20 minutes. I don't know if I can pull that off. Some of these things are complicated, and you're going to end up with 6 different videos, but at least you can take them a little bit at a time. You don't have to sit here for an hour and watch this. I mean, well, so you can expect to see that in case you're wondering what's going on. There's a really good looking sock there. I got a bunch of those, and Jordy sent me coffee money for that he wants me to spend on socks. So there is the guy done. If you get your thumb in the way, you notice he has to clear. I didn't have a fan out there handy, or I'd show you how he runs around. But there is Uncle Sam. I do have several other ones that I'll be doing in the future here. The concept is relatively the same, but the character will be different. I think the next one will be Abe Lincoln, and he's already done. So here's something I've been doing in the middle of all these other projects that haven't been filming. This is Bacchus. He's the god of wine, and I think Greek mythology, and he has the acanthus leaves around him, and then the grapes in there. So I'll show you some of this as this goes along, and you can see that I'm just laying out the leaves and the grapes on this. So thanks again for everyone. We're over 1,000 now. We just need to get the watch hours up to meet the criteria, and then they'll send me $4 a month for you clicking through the ads like I do. So thanks again. This has been Ben with Studio on the Lake. It's great fun. Have a good day.